What's up, everybody out there? Guerilla Hockey post-game edition still coming to you from LA. Avalanche, of course, beat the LA Kings last night 5-2. It was a late one, so we didn't want to bring a post-game last night to everybody who was probably in bed getting ready for their workday. So here we are, next day. We get a chance to settle things. You know, I used to have a coach growing up, and he used to make that a mandatory rule. If you have anything to say about the game, positively or negatively, to the coach himself, he'd mandate this 24-hour rule. So that way you get a chance for it to all settle in. You've gotten to process it a little bit, and now we can, with clear minds, approach last night's game. So I guess let's just start off, Jesse.
It's kind of like if you're feeling angry towards someone, write down everything that you would say to them, put it in a drawer, and if you still feel that way a day later, you can say whatever you're going to say. But I like that rule.
I like that too.
I was just going to say, because we got back to the room last night. We had everything done. For us, it was like 11:30. We're like, let's jump on and do a pod. And then you correctly pointed out, well, it's well past midnight back home. So we got settled. We moved to a hotel a little bit closer to the practice facility today. Out of downtown. So we got settled and thought let's just do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that I've cut you off.
There's a golf course behind me, and so I'm glad my back's to it, or else I would be just staring off into the distance, not listening to you at all. So
just at the time. Wow, there's like no one out there too. What a beautiful day. Sounds like looks like we could be on the golf course just playing every hole right now, JJ.
You don't want me to do this podcast, do you? But no, let's get into the night. We talked a little bit briefly yesterday after the game in our post-game video just about how the top guys really carried the weight again tonight. I mean, Mikko Rantanen with a 4-point night last night. Nathan MacKinnon, obviously, several points out of him. Cale Makar was huge. Devon Toews, and I just really love the way Jonathan Drouin made his debut in an Avalanche regular season.
Yeah, no, it really was. We talked about it in our quick little kind of post-game recap there from the arena, that it really was just a good all-around effort for the Avs. We've seen the bits and pieces kind of coming through training camp here. Wow, really encouraged there, really encouraged here. I like the way this guy's looking, but it really did feel like a lot of it kind of came together last night. I'm with you. I thought Jonathan Drouin looked like he fit on that line with Nathan MacKinnon, with Mikko Rantanen. Ryan Johansson didn't produce necessarily on the board, but I thought he was great in that bumper spot on the power play. And again, just like a little bit of physical nastiness to both him and the game as a whole. I thought it was a really impressive game. To me, that was a little bit of I know it's game 1 of 82, so you don't want to get carried away. That felt a little bit statement-y from the Avs. Like, we're harder to play against, we're deeper, we're more skilled. Anybody that thought you could write them off after having a dip last season, it's like that game last night to me was like, yeah, no, we're here.
And I mentioned this on the video last night. I think LA deserves a lot of credit for being a good team. It was a really good game. They were difficult to play against. Running that trap is never easy. Yeah. Jared Bednar, never easy to play against. Yeah. Jared Bednar mentioned a couple days ago just how LA traditionally is a tough team to play against. They play a unique style. So I agree with you. The Avalanche coming out and taking it to the LA Kings. I mean, a 3-goal win is pretty significant.
And they jumped on them. They jumped on them early too. Like that. LA really pushed back in the second half of the second period there. Culminating in 2 goals, one with 4 seconds left. But really, I thought the first half of that game, the Avs were in control, and then it was kind of their MO 2 seasons ago. They give up that goal late in the second period. There's maybe a little bit of momentum swinging for LA, and the Avs just come out third period, completely squash that, take the game, back over. That was a 1-goal game for a lot of the third period. Did that ever feel a jeopardy to you?
No, it really didn't. I mean, it was kind of a sloppy goal when they were getting close there at the end of the second period. Was it Quentin Byfield that got credited for that goal when it was really off Cale Makar's stick? So, I don't count a fluky goal as a big momentum shift, but that's something we've seen for a while out of this team is their ability to regroup during the intermission.
Yes.
And of course, I'm sure that's Jared Bednar led. Credit to him on their ability to do that, but we heard a couple guys last night allude to the conversation that was had between the second and third period as I guess, just being productive, and that's what they needed.
Well, and, that was one thing that stuck out to me was the fact that they were able to do that, show the maturity as a group that they did in their first game. Like, I saw a tweet yesterday, I don't remember who it was that sent it, but, they said something like, hey, keep in mind, a lot of new faces here. This could take a little bit to gel. I know obviously you have training camp, you have preseason. That's what a lot of that stuff is for. But, like, I thought that was kind of like a fair, hey, a lot of new faces. Let's give it a second. I thought that was one of the most encouraging things from last night was it is a lot of new faces, and it did not feel that way.
The foundation's in place, right? So all they had to do was just kind of plug and play some guys, teach them what their role is and how to execute it. And, I mean, the ship was already moving forward, right? And, with Nathan McKinnon. And
Johansson told us that yesterday, too, when we talked to him in the morning about, getting things going. He said everybody on this team is special. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective from someone who's new to this team but is a veteran of the league. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like he's very familiar with the Avs. Obviously, he's played against them a lot in his career. And it wasn't that like, we have a bunch of good players and a lot of elite talent. He said everyone here is special. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're talking about of like, this is a battle testing group. You now have everything that this team that always made this team great, but like now you do have the Stanley Cup experience. Like this is officially a team in that category. Like, well, yeah, but they've won, so they understand it. And that comment from Ryan Johansson and the way the game played out last night, I thought just embodied all.
I feel like the Avalanche just have a very strict and tight criteria of players they bring in, right? I mean, obviously, I think there's a couple different categories you can go with that, whether it's a puck-moving defenseman or, a guy who just is in great shape or a high hockey IQ guy. There's a couple things that I don't feel like they're very flexible with when bringing in a player. They keep their standards high and make sure that the player they're bringing in is going to be a good fit and not just, a guy that we think is going to be a good fit.
I feel bad because I'm bringing him into this for no reason. I'm going to drag him for no reason at all. But, like, it's so funny relative to what you're talking about, that they target specific character and a certain fit. When they made the move for Ryan Johansson, and then you saw what Nashville did after, I'm like, we had done that for Matt Duchene, who's probably a little bit more of a skilled player than Ryan Johansson. You look at free agency and you say, gosh, they maybe could have gone and gotten Ryan O'Reilly had they not brought in.
That's what you're referring to, what Nashville did after Ryan Johansson?
No. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, with the way that they bought out Duchene. Also, like you said that they're just, and now obviously coincidentally both Duchene and O'Reilly are former Avs, but like there were maybe some better setters on the market. But this team always does. It makes me think of it's in Miracle, so I'm not sure if it's an actual Herb Ricks quote. Not looking for the best players, I'm looking for the right ones. The Avs seem like they're always looking for the right players, maybe not necessarily who is the best player available on the market. They always do their due diligence on those players when they come available. But I really do just get the sense from this team that it is more of like, we need the right players, not necessarily just the absolute best players. And I feel like that's a trap that a lot of teams fall into, not just in hockey, but and not even pro sports, just sports in general. We just need the best players and hope they all play well. It's not what you always need.
Yeah, so I mean, with that, let's get into the depth a little bit, right? Because I mean, so many of the players on the depth are new guys, and the depth is really what allowed this Avalanche team to take over last night. We knew what we're gonna get out of the top line. We get it almost every single game. I'll say 90% of the games, you're getting points out of somebody from that top line. The players kind of talked to us a little bit last night how nice it was. They just kind of rolled lines. They didn't have to get too choosy with ice time. They just rolled all four.
So glad you.
Yeah, and so yeah, all right, go ahead and get into it.
Well, no, I was again. I need to stop myself because I'm already comparing too much of this year to the Stanley Cup year. But like that that was such a huge key for that Cup team, was they could just roll 4 lines for longer than other teams could, over the course of a game. Like, I go back to that Western Conference final against Edmonton. Edmonton had their bench cut to 6 forwards by the midway point of the second period. For the most part, penalty kills, they'd mix in a couple guys. But in terms of 5-on-5, like, they're rolling McDavid and Draisaitl every other line. And the Avs just didn't have to do that. And that's why most of those games in that Western Conference final, like, were close and then just got away from the Oilers in the end. They just didn't have the legs. Like, they didn't have the legs to play with the Avs. And when you can just be rolling 12 forwards through 50 minutes of an NHL game, you're going to win the war of attrition for that night in most instances,
And that's kind of what we saw last night.
I think that's absolutely what we saw last night. On the reverse side of it, I think that's what we saw in the Colorado-Seattle series 5 months ago.
Jared Bednar lost his trust.
And then you add in the injuries, and he just didn't have the guys to be able to roll like that, and Seattle did. And that's why when it got to Game 7, the Avs just couldn't, from a fatigue standpoint, they couldn't skate with the Kraken anymore. And I think last night was a good example of that. And again, it's one game, so I don't want to blow it too much out of proportion, but what we saw last night, again, when I talked about this in our post-game hit, last night felt like a culmination of a lot of the stuff that you and I had kind of been seeing and feeling around the rink of, like, well, this might be a really, really good mix. And I felt like last night we got a taste of this is what this team has the potential to be. No Andrew Cogliano last night either, so I still think there's a little bit more of an upgrade to come in the bottom 6 versus what we saw last night, and a little bit more reliability, things like that. But I do think the ability to roll 4 lines is a calling card of this team when they're at their best, and we saw that last night, and I think the results translated pretty directly.
I'm going to take a hard right turn away from Glitters and Sparkles Boulevard, and I'm going to head down negativity lane.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think I need to see more out of that second line. Val Nichushkin, Arturi Lehkonen, Ryan Johansson.
Yeah.
Before we start getting too excited and horned up on the depth, I think the second line left more to be desired, and I don't know exactly what it was. I'd love to rewatch the game and maybe pinpoint a little more things. I don't know. What was your finger on the pulse of the second line? Did they do some things right that I'm maybe forgetting about?
I mean, I think they were fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they were, like, bad. But, we talked to Evan Rowell from Colorado Hockey Now during one of the intermissions, and I've actually been advocating for one of the things that he brought up was he said, I think they need to mix up that second line. I personally think they should swap, again, to try and then keep experimenting. I think they should swap Lehkonen and Rantanen and put Rantanen with Johansson and Nichushkin. One that gives you a line of just big, huge size. That's going to be really hard for a lot of teams to
put Gerard and Makar on the back end.
Yeah. And then you're going to keep Lehkonen and McKinnon together, who were really, really good together last year. And you're going to keep McKinnon and Drouin together. That, we all think is kind of the play there. But then you're also going to give that second line a shooter, right? You're going to get, the everything feeds through to end with McKinnon, to end with Rantanen with the puck on his stick. I just think Lehkonen and Nichushkin are too same.
I would even say Ryan Johansson, he's not so much the same, but he just kind of contradicts being with Nichushkin and Lehkonen because he's a net crasher, right? And that's 3 net crashers. You're looking for a bunch of garbage goals, and that's what you can eventually potentially get out of this line. But I agree. I think you could diversify the skill set for that line a little bit more. Same with the top line if you throw a guy like Lehkonen on it.
Well, and to your point, that the putting guys like Nichushkin and Lehkonen with players like Rantanen and McKinnon worked so well because they dig pucks out so efficiently, and then guys like McKinnon and Rantanen find the lanes, right? Like they find ways to get open, get themselves in scoring position. And so it's like, well, give Nichushkin one of those. And then to your point, you've got a guy in Johansson who is going to be going to the net, who's going to be, banging bodies, finding pucks in the blue paint. I just think that's a really nice combination. But I think what I like the most is the fact that, remember everything that we're talking about here, like they were fine. The second line was fine last night. I mean, with you need more out of them, but
we can be confident that Jared Bednar knows this, right? I mean, going into the game, we talked to him about his line combinations, how they've been pretty much set the whole time through preseason. And he said to us, hey, I got some in my back pocket. I've got some other combinations I'd like to eventually try, but this is what we're going to roll with. So
he's definitely not afraid to mix things.
He loves it. He loves it, especially at the first sign of, not playing to his standard. Yeah, but last night went to his standard. He was happy with the way his team was playing, so he kept the lines together. Yeah. Pulled out the victory only by 3 goals.
Why show any more of your hands if you don't need to, if things are going well?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, we're U-turning out of negativity lane, and we're going back onto Glitters and Sparkles Boulevard. Woo! Miles Wood.
Dude, he was great.
What a game out of him, particularly on the penalty kill. I think he was a guy we were kind of, at least I've been waiting through preseason, keeping an eye on how he keeps up with the mental side of the game. Not saying that he's behind or anything, but Jared Bednar has a complex system. Miles Wood has a very north-south, bang-bang style of play, right? So I'm really pleased with the way he's adapted to the penalty kill. He ran it really well. And just overall, that line was fun to watch. I love the Colton Tatar. Yeah. And that's what's challenging, because you love that first line. Yeah. You love the third line. The fourth line, you love it too, especially when Cogliano's back. So it's like, how do you really even change that second line? You kind of just got to stick with it and coach them up.
Well, and I almost wonder if they're going to stick with it, but then also do a little bit of the blendar, and like, you'll throw Mikko in. You'll for a second period, you'll swap Mikko and Nichushkin, and then you'll put Mikko back with the top line. For the third period, I'm with you. I think he's going to try a few different things. Jared Bednar is going to try a few different things, and we'll see how it goes. I had something really good. Miles Wood, bro. I thought him and Ross Colton, they were exactly what you wanted them to be last night. And really kind of that empty net goal. It's an empty net goal, so like whatever. But I mean, the hustle from Ross Colton to win that puck, and then really nice touch on it too. Like, that wasn't just like him swinging at it. That was, hey, I'm trying to put this into the middle of the ice. Miles Wood right there. I thought he played off his speed really well. Wood did last
night. I think we've really underestimated how fast he is. He's got Nathan McKinnon-esque speed. I saw him chase down a face-off or icing that got waved off, and
both.
I was like, is that Nathan McKinnon? Oh, that was Miles Wood.
Both him and McKinnon run down an icing last night. McKinnon leads directly to a goal. Dude, no, I mean, it was. I thought all of the new guys fit really well, like immediately. You know what I mean? There was, you saw the role for each one of them. Maybe Tomas Tatar was the only guy I said to you last night, he's been a little bit quiet, but again, he's a third line guy. You're looking to be, contribute extra offense. They didn't need that last night. If your depth guys are showing up when you need them to, that's all you're asking for. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, 9 points between the three of them. You don't need that depth to be adding, contributing a bunch, but I thought everyone looked good. I do also want to take a quick moment here. I realized I didn't do this off the top, and I feel like such a fool. We're here in LA, on this beautiful hotel, thanks in part to our great friends over at RefiJet. We are here. Head on over to RefiJet.com. Drivers who switch save on average $150 every month on their auto loan. So go to RefiJet.com, see how much money they can save you.
I'm checking that out. I pay way too much money for my car, and if they could save me $150 a month or anything at all, that'd be a fit.
It's worth checking. That's their on average $150 a month. So odds are they can save you something. RefiJet.com. They've been great partners of ours already in our early days. Helped to get us out to Vegas for the rookie showcase. Now they got us out here in LA. So. Just wanted to make sure we gave some love. We were talking about Miles Wood, Jets, and I was like, RefiJet. Didn't do it off the top. So I want to make sure we gave a good friend some love.
I love it. Do you want to keep going?
No, that was all I had on Miles Wood and Ross Colton.
Yeah, I guess the special teams, right? I think that was a pivotal piece of the Avalanche's victory. Without the penalty kill, the game and the way it was playing out, it was trying to go against the Avalanche, right? The Avalanche of old might have crumbled, might have fallen apart, might have given up a power play goal that led to another and maybe lost that game. But the penalty kill was just so strong. That's why I wanted to take the second to point out Miles Wood's game, because he was a big part of that penalty kill, I think. Yeah. And, special teams was pivotal, especially on the power play as well. You saw Cale Makar bury one. So if the special teams is acting the way it did in game one, I mean, there's very few categories that I think this team is not going to be at the top of the league for.
Well, and the other thing, too, with those penalty kills, they came at pivotal times in the game where, it's a 1-goal lead, 2-goal lead. You really can't be giving this momentum back. And not only did they get the penalties killed, but they were good kills. No momentum built. Because you can see that sometimes, even if you don't score on a power play, if you really get some good zone times, some good puck touches, shots on net, traffic, you can generate a lot of momentum that can kind of carry over. None of that. Anytime, right as the building would start getting into it for LA, the Avs would come out, really strong kill, completely pour cold water on the atmosphere, on everything, and just yep, you're going to have to beat us straight up. We're not going to let you get buzzing here. So, special teams, not only did they come out with a clean record, power play goal, and kill all the penalties, I thought the kills were done really well. That makes sense and all.
Yeah, no, executed to perfection.
Thank you. Done really well. Executing. At
a high level. We're not eating steak here, Jesse. The plethora of guys that they kind of used, and everybody just thriving, and credit to the coaching staff. And yeah, I guess we kind of talked a lot of the best special teams last night even, so yeah. I guess we could leave it there, but I just really wanted to acknowledge that was a big piece for their victory yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They deserve a lot of credit there because, like I said, not only was it a lot of penalties, they were at key points in the game, and the Avs were able to, steer clear of that. Really, man, I mean, just a really strong effort from start to finish. All 200 feet of the ice, special teams, offense, defense. Alexander Georgiev, I thought, was solid.
Yep.
It really was. It was a good game.
He outplayed Cam Talbot, that's for sure. Talbot did not look good, but this LA Kings team is going to be legit. I'm going to look at what their next game is because I think they come out with a victory, so we got to keep the gambling streak going.
Yeah. Right. 3 for 4 last night right here. We needed the Ryan Johansson point for the full suite.
And the reason we thought we would get the Ryan Johansson point, you kind of brought it up earlier in the show, is because he's on that power play. He had some dangerous chances on the power play, just couldn't convert. But of course, we weren't. We broke down how we kind of expect more out of that second line. We weren't putting our eggs into that basket, right? We were putting the eggs in the power play basket.
And he had a really nice little play there to McKinnon. You and I did laugh a little bit after the game because Kill's like, yeah, sweet little play there in the middle. Almost got a shot off. It's like, oh, man. But yeah, no, I mean, all those picks that we, the best for two last night, McKinnon, Georgiev, Taves. That was all stuff that just as we were seeing in camp, we're like, yeah, these guys are ready. These guys are ready for game one. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Do you have anything else for the game last night? So we maybe should have teased this also off top. We're going to have the Chris McFarland interview here at the very end of this. So that's kind of how we'll round out the show. Do you have anything else on the game before we get into anything, C-Mac?
No, I mean, it was just a unique experience being here. I think from the game itself, I think we've covered everything, but the experience of it was definitely unique. Crypto.com Arena is a cool building to be in. Man. They definitely have invested a lot of money in keeping that thing updated and nice. I like their little VIP section that they have. They have a walk-in tunnel. You get your own entrance. You get your own bar. Mm-hmm. A lot of, I guess.
Nicer seats, too.
They're roomy.
Yeah. Collared backs on them and stuff. Mm-hmm. We saw Will Ferrell. We didn't, see him up close, but he was in the building.
He's in the same building as us.
We were there. No, I was
looking like Mugatu.
It was a bucket list arena for me, man. There's a few of those throughout the league that, that's when you want to go to. I wish it was still Staples Center for the official bucket list cross off, but
yeah, it's better to be. Well, I mean, isn't Staples a bankrupt company as well? I was gonna say,
Staples not around anymore?
so. I was going to say it's better to be backed by a company that's not bankrupt, but I don't know if Staples is thriving right now. The Win song. I heard a song going on last night. I have no idea what it was. I'm starting to feel old. Was that Taylor Swift? I have no idea.
Definitely wasn't Taylor Swift.
I'll work on it, though. I know a lot of people out there are curious.
Yeah.
They like to know, and, I've always been the guy that asks. Matt Nieto was always my guy to ask. He'd always tell me, and it was an easy kind of in that I had, but
nice.
I'm going to have to find a new in. But there's a lot of good characters on this team, a lot of guys I really enjoy talking to.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to ask anybody about the Win song. So, yeah, let's get to Chris McFarland. Do we want to give our 2 cents on it before or after?
The one thing that I want to comment on, I tweeted it out yesterday, just the one little quote was, we did get really what I think is our first real update on Pablo Francouz. He used the word indefinite when discussing the Pablo Francouz timeline. So, you'll get to hear it. It didn't sound good to me. But that was the one thing that I kind of wanted to comment on. I mean, he said a lot. This is easily the most accessible GM that the Avs have had, at least since I've been covering the team. And for my understanding is maybe ever. So, he talks a lot, spoke to us for about 10 minutes, but the Pablo Francouz thing was the one thing that stuck with me for sure.
Absolutely. I think of everything he said, that's definitely what stood out. And there's 2 moments during that where he's talking about Pablo Francouz where he says, it's the storyline we're going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah.
Referring to the team itself. So it is nice to be like, all right, as media, we're going to keep an eye on that storyline as well. But it's not so nice from being the team that they really don't have much closure on it. They don't
like, what have you guys reported? We're following the story. What's going on with it?
Yeah.
And obviously I'm being tongue-in-cheek when I say that. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from it was the couple times he touched on Frank.
Right. So it's still very much up in the air.
Yeah.
You want to throw to it?
Yeah, no, so it's that'll do it here. We're going to get you guys over to Chris McFarland. We'll be heading on up to Avs practice tomorrow. Then we're continuing on to San Jose, Seattle. So the content's going to keep coming. But yeah, look for more stuff tomorrow from the LA Kings practice facility here. You and I will be at Avs practice. But
let's go golf it.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go enjoy some of this weather, man. And Chris McFarland, GM of the Colorado Avalanche.
We're happy with our offseason for sure. We wanted to get deeper. I think we did that up front. I still think we've got the Pavel injury situation is something that's going to be an interesting storyline for us. I think Eustace had a great training camp, but with the moves we made with adding Miles Wood and Colton and Johansson, Tatar, they have to do it on the ice, Drouin. But we're excited to get her going and see what it looks like.
Do you have any update on the timeline with Pablo?
Nope, indefinite.
Okay. You got Huberant and Holland on AHL deals. Do you still see
Yep.
them as guys who could potentially come up if injuries call for it?
Well, you never say never, but they're both were excited that they both decided to start with the Eagles there. Kiviranta in particular is a very experienced NHL player, so he can certainly potentially work his way into the mix. Peter Holland didn't play hockey last year, when he came in and had a good camp, and he's going to add some depth and experience in the middle of the ice down there for the Eagles and hopefully be a key player as well. Right. Yeah, we don't. I'm not going to sort of comment on negotiations or contract situations like that. But Devon's a really important player for us, so we're hopeful that we'll continue to chat and we'll see where it goes.
Did you have this? Jack Johnson, you guys bring him back again. Obviously, you just had Caleb Jones as well, but for what Jack Johnson does, there's probably a lot of guys in the league that you can look to fill that role. What is it about Jack that fits so well with this organization? You guys have brought it back multiple times now.
Yeah, I think Jack is a reliable guy. Like he's he's 36 or whatever he is. He keeps himself in great shape. He does, he's a good penalty killer. And most importantly, he's earned the trust of the coaching staff and our group. And he brings a veteran presence. He knows what he is. He's not a fancy player. He's a meat and potatoes guy for us that is just very consistent. And he's a glue guy in that locker room who's very appreciated by not only myself, but our coaches and his teammates.
In your conversations with Val Machushkin, have you seen enough maturity and
progress, I suppose, from him to feel like you trust him on this team and the sort of role that you expect him to play after what happened last season?
Well, I don't think Val's immature at all. I don't have no question on, Val as a person or a player. So we're very excited to have him. He's a really important player in our mix. He's a top 6 horse that, when he's on the top of a game, he's a beast to handle. So he's a fixture in our lineup, and we're excited that he's back.
The Prosvetov claim on waivers the other day, what's the thought process behind that? What do you see in him? And is there a plan with him and Onanen, because you have an Eagles team that is one of the best probably that we maybe have ever seen?
I think the Prosvetov, addition yesterday was something that our pro scouts and our goalie department were very excited about. I think first and foremost, Justus Onanen had a great camp and has done a great job, and that's why he's here with us. I think we needed to add depth to our goaltending tree, and Prosvetov's a guy that our guys like. I think how it's going to play out, I'd be lying to you if I said I know exactly how it's going to play out in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. You got to get it done on the ice, and you got to get it done in NHL regular season games, no matter who you are. Just going back a few years, Pavel, Francouz comes over to the American League as a 27-year-old, and he's an elite goaltender there. He had to get it done, in the NHL. And we've been very spoiled with Pav and the role he's had as an, in my mind, one of the best sort of quote-unquote backups in the league whenever we needed him to, whether it was for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or in the playoffs. He was very, very good. And we were very spoiled by that, with him and whichever partner he's with. So we've got to figure that out. It's a really important piece of the equation who's going to complement Georgiev, and I think that narrative's still to be written. But, with Ivan and Justus, they're both young, they're both big, they both have a lot of upside. Now we got to see how it fits and if they can get it done in the NHL.
How much does the fact that Justus doesn't have to go through waivers play into kind of your decision making with some of that?
It's a big part. The guys at this age, the one thing I think we all know is games. There's nothing that can replicate games for the development of a goaltender. So it's a piece that, again, that we're going to have to find solutions to, and only time will give us that answer.
You guys did pick up Caleb Jones yesterday. Is that somebody you see playing a significant role in the NHL later in the year as the year goes on?
Well, Caleb is very experienced, right? He's been in the NHL. He's been in Edmonton and Chicago. I think his skating fits how we like to play. He's been a pretty good defender during his time in the NHL, and you can't have enough good quality defensemen. So the one thing I think we do know is that we're going to need more than 6, and we just felt that acquisition made too much sense to add an experienced veteran defenseman to our mix.
How nice is it that you add him and don't really have to lose Cal Burke, at least for the Eagles for now?
Yeah, it's a situation where Carolina, we all know they're you got to have a place for their guys to play. We're certainly not disappointed that Cal will remain with the Eagles. He's been a really quality player down there. He's a good leader for them, and the fact that he'll continue to stay with the Eagles and chip in and help make them a better team is just an added bonus.
Chris, you just mentioned you guys know you're going to need more than 60. With the injuries over the last year and even in the playoffs the year before, where are you guys just kind of at with the confidence of the health and the group kind of being able to hold up?
Yeah, it's hockey, right? Hockey's a contact sport. You just don't know. I think that's why you need to be as deep as you can back there. I think our top 6 are good, very good, and we have some elite talent back there. But I certainly can't predict hockey, right? Like it's a physical contact sport, and we're a better team when they're in the lineup, certainly. But I think you gotta have some depth back there. So we're obviously want good health for them and our entire group. But that remains to be seen. We'll hope to get the best out of them and get as many games out of them as we can.
What was the
Given that Gabe has spent the whole year on LTIR and you're going to be into that territory, like what sort of challenges does that bring to you with the GM if you want to make moves near the deadline?
Yeah, the cap machinations are, it's well documented. We've used a lot of that money already, so we're going to be in LTIR all year. So I think the difference between last year and this year is this year we know it and last year we didn't. But, obviously, with Gabe's situation, there's some clarity and there's some not clarity. So, but right now everything is going great with him, and we remain very hopeful. So.
Last couple, go ahead, Peter.
What was
Evan?
What was the logic of sending Annanen and down and putting Tufty on waivers when you did, and then bringing
Salary
him back up? Okay.
Salary cap rules.
With Ross Colton and Freddie Olofsson, they haven't played center full time the last few years. As an organization, what are you looking for that shows that when you're evaluating those players to bring them in, that you think they can be centers for you?
Well, we know that, based on watching them play, going back in Ross's case back to when he was in his draft year, and then in Syracuse, and then certainly some with the Lightning, he's played middle. And Freddie Olofsson was a center up until, some of his recent time in Dallas and Texas in the American Hockey League. So I think both of them can play center. We certainly see both as getting significant minutes in the middle of the ice. Freddie did a great job in the middle of the ice and throughout camp and was used, exclusively there. So his hockey sense is pretty good. So we're curious to see how he's going to look tonight, and hopefully what's an extended look for him in the NHL. And Ross has been a proven two-way player. Yes, he can play wing, but, we think he's going to be a fixture in the middle of the ice as a hard-nosed two-way center for us that eats up pretty good minutes.
Last one, Kyle.
You've had back-to-back free agent classes where in September you get a pretty prominent contributor on a one-year deal. It seems like that's a sign that you guys have been working on a guy for a while, and finally you're able to get something to happen. As a GM, can you take me through the strategy of what it takes to be patient on guys and to, especially with Tatar, what allowed you to be in position to sign him when you did?
Yeah, I don't think there's a magic, pill to that. I think there are, with the tight salary cap the last number of years on July 1, there's always seems to be, whether it's one or two or three guys that maybe it gets squeezed a little bit. And I think the fact that, we were able to with Evan and Thomas, I think it's just a credit to the organization. It's a credit to, the Cronkies and what our guys and our coaches have done on the ice over the last number of years, that it's seen as an attractive place to play. It's a great city. And it's been a good hockey team with, forwards in particular get excited about, maybe our back end that can get them the puck, and, and they'll have a good year, and maybe that springboards them on their next deal. So I don't think there's certainly not a, hey, let's sit back and let's wait and see. I think it's just been a factor of the system and the salary cap and that sort of thing.